Support for the Bulletproof for BJJ YouTube channel is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code GRIZZLY at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 8 million balls.
That's a lot of balls.
Now, talk to me about your experience with Manscaped.
I have been men's grooming for a long time and have had to play around with various means. But then I received my pack, and so we have a comparison. Note, this arm looking quite smooth and lean.
Vascular.
And then look at this arm. Hairy bear.
Grizzly.
Grizzly ass.
Neanderthal-esque.
I used this yesterday, and I just did my arm in like barely any minutes. And it's so quick. I was actually so impressed because actually the forearm hair actually usually takes the longest because it's so rugged.
Yeah.
Didn't blink. It was actually very impressive.
Yeah, look, here's my story with Manscaped. My partner bought me an older model a couple of years ago, and I've been using it ever since. I think I've charged it once in that time because the battery just doesn't die.
Oh, wow.
And it's very similar to this, though. This is obviously like upgraded.
This is the 4.0.
Yeah, this is like super stylish. That thing, I'm like, it makes all the other trimmers that I had in the past look like shit.
Yeah.
I had to charge them all the time. I get like one shave out of them.
Yeah.
I'd always nick myself.
True.
It can happen with this, but the ceramic blade and whatnot on this is just like, I believe they say the 4th generation of trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents, all right? Thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. You thought that was good, but you want to take a grooming game even further to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer.
Yes, indeed.
Bruh, you got big cauliflower ears, but I know there's some crevices in there that get grizzly.
There are. Look, I'm not so big with the ear hair piece, but the nose hair for sure. As much as you can have a manly beard, no one likes you having protruding arms coming out your nostrils. It's no good. The thing that I also am impressed with this pack is the care range. Like, we've got the ball toner.
We've got the ball deodorant.
The crop reviver.
Crop preserver.
Mate, it actually smells amazing. I don't mess with colognes, but like...
Smells fresh.
So, man, I'm just putting this on.
JT's face is going to smell like Joey's balls.
Well, the roles are reversed, because usually that's how it goes in jiu-jitsu.
Hey, I fight well from north-south. Fam, get 20% off and free shipping when you use the code GRIZZLY, which you can see here on the screen, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code GRIZZLY. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I am JT.
Hey guys, I'm Joey.
And today we are talking about our biggest BJJ mistakes. So these occur on all kinds of levels. Nutrition, technique, lifestyle choice, like all kinds of things that occur in the realm of jiu-jitsu, which just completely stuff you up. And maybe some of them are avoidable. Maybe you can learn from these mistakes. We didn't get it right all the way along. Actually, be safe to say we got a lot wrong, learnt from that, and now are doing better subsequently. But some of these mistakes, they take years to overcome because no one tells you you're doing it wrong. You're just thinking, oh, this is hard. And you just keep grinding away.
Yeah.
So we each have different experiences relevant to that, Joe. But what I thought we might talk about first, because I have one which is notable. It was something that worked in a different situation, and I tried to apply it to jiu-jitsu, and it just didn't work.
Right.
It stuffed me up quite badly. And that is a nutrition fail.
Ooh.
Do you have anything in this realm?
Yeah. Thinking about it, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was really obsessed with making my own muesli.
Okay.
And it was
it's that eat to win in you, isn't it?
It was the eat to. I mean, it's always been a part of me. You know? And
Eat to win
I
king.
would go to this shop that was in Chinatown. This guy was like a Middle Eastern dude. He would sell like all the different like styles of like oats and fucking soy grits and psyllium and all these things. And I'd buy bulk and then I'd mix it. And anyway, this is probably the first.
It's all going to be in the Eat to Win cookbook.
That's right. You guys will be able to get the recipe. You'll be able to get your hands on it. You'll be able to fuck up just like I did. But what I would do is and it was great. I would mix all this shit up and then I would have it and I would put, yogurt and honey, and
Nice.
I put fruit. It was a very
Sounds delicious.
It's delicious. It was healthy. It was jam packed full of fiber. Let me tell you. It isn't. But here's the thing. I would pour all of this dry stuff into a bowl. I'd put some of the the yogurt and the honey, which has a bit of moisture to it, and then I'd put some. I don't know what. I think I'd just put milk, maybe some. Yeah, I'd just use regular milk, whatever. And I would smash this enormous bowl of it. Enormous bowl.
Wow.
And then like 30 minutes later, I'd get my shit and I'd go to jiu-jitsu, which was just, up the street.
That's a full
And
stomach.
When here's the thing. So the first mistake was I was eating this big load of food before training. But the second thing is that, and I didn't understand this for a long time, when you eat dehydrated foods, your body needs to hydrate it in order for you to digest it.
Yes, sir.
So if you go and eat, so this is why, like say, if you cook your oats and make a porridge, it's quite handy because you're taking a dried food, you're hydrating it in water, and then you're eating it. It's much easier for the body to process. I was just basically taking this bowl full of fucking dried grass and shit, and putting some moisture, like a little bit of moisture in it, and then smashing it. Yeah. And then 30 minutes later, when I'm on the mats, it's just sucking all the moisture out of my gut. And I'm just like, ooh, I was in my mid-20s, so I didn't even notice really. Yeah. But looking back, I'm like, why did I do that for so long? I persisted. I'm like, I got to, and it was because I was really sold on the idea of, no, this muesli is so healthy for me.
Yeah.
It's so good right now. Like, I got to have it.
Yeah.
I probably should have soaked it the night before, i.e. Bircham muesli for those out there. Sure. Or just drunk a gallon of water at the same time.
Sure.
But I would say that was a mistake that I ran with for a long time because I was married to the idea of the muesli.
Man, it actually, I'm not sure because I don't want to get this wrong here. I believe it's a torture technique in either China or Japan where they feed you dry rice.
Oh my God.
And they just fill you full of it until it sucks all the water out of you and it kills you.
Oh my God.
Because you can't process it.
Bro, that's fucked.
It's terrible. It sounds like that you were.
I survived.
You did. Oh my God, you're so prepared for your prisoner of war situation. Man, that's, yeah. And it's one of those things too, right? You get, not obsessed, but you believe something to be good in a certain context. And it was, clearly. Nutritionally, it sounds amazing. Sounds delicious. Sounds like ticking a lot of boxes. But in that jiu-jitsu context, like just before training, probably not the best choice.
That's right.
And
yeah, so it's a mistake in one way. It's not a total.
It's not like, oh, you would never do it, but just not just before training. And maybe a few tweaks, like the Bircher tweak or whatever it could be.
Yeah, it
would be a bit easier. Man, mine is much more catastrophic than that. Way worse. So there was a critical point in my career doing PT. The head of PT, like the PT manager, was a hardcore Charles Poliquin guy. And
personal training we're talking about.
Personal training, yep. And nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. I'd been doing taekwondo. I've just started jiu-jitsu, like not even the first 6 months. And what I had done previously was taking a ton of amino acids to get rid of muscle soreness. And Charles Poliquin had these box of like big containers of capsules, and they're meant to be the best amino acids going around. Whatever, they cost way too much money.
Poliquin, for those who don't know, is one of the stalwarts of the strength realm. He's no longer with us, but he's one of the guys, kind of one of the godfathers of strength training. Yes. In this modern time.
And nutrition as well.
Yeah, that's right. He helped a lot of bodybuilders, helped a lot of top athletes, Olympians, so had a line of supplements and had some very good training methodologies.
Yeah, very good. And to this day, like his training still, guys who trained under him are the now current kind of kings of the game.
Yeah.
But I was really sold on this idea because the method was train weight training twice a day, but take an absolute ton of these things. Now, obviously, he's pushing product, but I tried it out. I was like, I'll try it. And it worked. Like I was taking like 20 capsules before the weightlifting session, 20 capsules after.
20 capsules.
20. Now, I have a very good tolerance for branched chain amino acids, BCAAs. Right. You may have seen it advertised on various products or as a supplement. Now, not everyone has a good tolerance. As far as weight training goes, like resting, I'm not doing anything I'm not going like sprints. I'm not wrestling. I'm not running. It's fine if you're just in the gym lifting weights, walking around. Now, I had started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I was like, I wonder if if I take heaps of branched chain amino acids and do jiu-jitsu, I wonder how that's going to work. Except this time I'd taken, I don't know if it was the supplement or not, I was taking a powder because I was like, oh, I'll just chuck it in I'll get a big liter thing of water, just chuck heaps of, 5 or 10 grams in there, which is a big concentration.
Save on the gel caps.
Yeah, it's way cheaper. So what I did was I downed a liter, which is like 5 to 10 grams before. And then I was like, I'll have it during because obviously I don't want to get my muscles too sore. And I was drinking it between rounds on rolling and I got acute stomach cramps. Like the worst.
Like that day, or
Yeah,
you would
no,
do
no,
this
no.
over a prolonged period?
No, that day.
Oh, wow.
Like just guts just seized up. I couldn't even sit up. I couldn't move. Just guts going into spasm. And I just had to kind of lie in the corner in fetal position. And then I was like, I'm so thirsty though. And the only thing I had was the amino acids. So I just kind of, and then eventually like it really hit me and I had to go to the toilet bad, like explosive diarrhea.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
Oh, the worst. Ran to the bathroom. And at that time I'm training at Peter DeBeans. There was only one male toilet.
Right.
And I just occupied that thing. Like everyone else is just gonna have to go anywhere else. Like you're not coming in. It took me out. Like the whole set. Like I was bad for the rest of the day. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, guys. Like you get a calf cramp, you're rolling, then you stretch it out, whatever. But then your calf is sore residually for days. I wasn't right for days because I had such intense abdominal cramps. My abs hurt for days and days. I couldn't go back to training. I was like, God damn amino acids. Just not working for jiu-jitsu. Now, obviously, you don't have to do it the way I did it. Aminos have been shown to be beneficial for recovery.
Why did you go so extreme?
Joe?
How could you not?
How could I not? No, it's because the study that I'd read said you had to have very large amounts to get this benefit of really getting rid of muscle soreness.
Right.
Yeah, could I have done it a bit less? Sure. But I think upon reflection, I have played with it since. I find, maybe having 1 gram or 2 grams of aminos after training, sure. But the pre, during, post, don't go there. It's not worth it, ladies and gentlemen. Just let me share it with you. Now, I thought we'd move more to BJJ technique or something that you were like really fixed on, that you were convinced would work and maybe it didn't, and maybe it put your game backwards.
Yeah.
You got something like that?
Yeah. Not so much that I didn't think about it. It was just a mistake I made for a long time. I used to close triangles. I used to just think that a triangle was you wrap the head and the arm with your leg and then you close your other leg over your foot.
Yep.
And it's done.
Yeah.
And you squeeze the shit out of it.
Sure.
And I think it worked for a little while, right?
Yeah.
You catch someone off guard and they don't really know how to defend a triangle. And then at a point, I remember my gym, people started defending triangles quite well. And I was hurting my knee all the time. And I was like, man, triangles are fucked for the knees.
Yeah.
And I just stopped doing triangles.
Right.
It wasn't until many years later when I was actually doing some strength training with a group of people. I was running a retreat. My partner was there, Misa, and we were talking. We were doing something with the knees, and I was talking about how that triangle position. Oh no, I was showing have you ever seen that squat? I think it's called a tabletop squat, where you place your foot on top of your knee.
Yeah, sure.
From standing and then you squat
Sit
down.
Yeah.
I was talking about that, and my partner Misa, she offered up. Oh, I learned in yoga that when you go into that position, if you keep your foot flexed, so if you pull your toes towards your knee,
Dorsiflexion, yep.
yeah, it actually stabilizes the knee when you're in that position. And I tried it. I'm like, it really does.
Wow.
And then I was like, maybe this can apply to a jiu-jitsu triangle as well.
Imagine, right.
And so what I realized that all those years, I just would wrap my leg and then I just close the triangle over my toes.
Right.
Because you're just trying to close it any way you can,
course.
right? Just fucking close the thing and squeeze.
Make it happen.
Someone starts defending, you get all this pressure on your knee.
Yeah.
My knees took so much damage from it cumulatively over the years.
Yes.
So I came to realize, wow, actually closing it over the ankle is a lot more effective, but also squeezing your knees together. So not allowing your knee to flare out when you're in a triangle, but squeezing them together. And I'm like, that I didn't even know that.
Right.
It was, because Because that's not a triangle. Like,
Yeah.
if you think of the triangle shape, it's like knee flared out.
That's right. Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure.
So just as a thing to realize, and I think it was only at brown belt, I was like, oh, holy shit, there you go. And
Follow
so,
through.
I mean, I got short legs. You know what it's like.
I know triangle's not the
Triangles-
easiest.
Yeah, they're not huge for me, but they're a lot better now.
Definitely. Man, it's funny how you just come to it. And for me, actually, my story relates to actually being a blue belt. Similar situation, triangle. But I did myself a mischief. It was actually against Big George from Gracie Sydney, now Gracie Parramatta.
Ah, yes.
Right. It was
George.
the first ever Abu Dhabi trials, like Abu Dhabi Pro trials.
Right.
And we were at this tiny little basketball stadium somewhere on the North Shore, and George and I were against each other first. And I was a blue belt. I think he was a purple belt. Doesn't matter. He was passing me with an arm in. Like he was in a triangle. But here's the thing. He's a thick human. He's a broad-shouldered, thick-body human. And I could see my foot. Like I could see my foot, like just like that. And I was like, if I can get my leg across, I can triangle this guy. Like if only. But he had all his weight down on my leg. Like there's no way I could get my leg through.
Right.
So my
The
leg,
other leg, the
my
one that
leg
would
was
close
like
the
this.
triangle.
Yes.
Or the one that was wrapping around the neck.
Yeah.
Right.
And his arm's here, and I'm like, I just grab my foot, and I'm like, if I can just pull this across, I'll pull my leg through. Except my leg didn't move, and I'm just yanking on my own ankle. Like, I'm like, if I triangle this guy, I'm going to Abu Dhabi, which wasn't true, but I'm pulling on my ankle, and my ankle just went snap, snap. And I just basically like toe hold myself, and then my ankle just went to like, just lax.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. And I couldn't triangle, and then he just passed my guard and he won.
Oh, shit.
But I was like, why did I do that? And afterwards, like, my partner Tom was like, what happened there? And I was like, I basically broke my own ankle. Like I just tore ligaments in my own ankle, foot locked myself. Because, and this is something relating back to that foot position thing, a lot of the times when people are putting on a triangle, they'll grab their foot to pull the triangle on,
Yeah.
right? But then this is just something I learnt later, probably not even until I was purple belt, to grab the shin, to like,
Yeah.
dorsiflex the foot, grab the shin,
Yeah.
and try and lock over the shin. Now, obviously, it's a lot easier if you've got real long shin bones. You got short shin bones, there's not much to work with.
That's right.
So, man,
Sometimes you grab what you can.
yeah, you just
But you got to know that you might have to cop you might cop an injury, or you got to know that you're not doing it the best way.
that's right. It's not the most efficient technique.
Yeah.
And then after that, because I hurt my own ankle, I was like, I got to fix this. I don't know what I'm doing. So then I dug in a bit deeper about how to kind of do a triangle properly. And it just took a while, right? And you don't know what you don't know. And I'm sure we've all had that experience in jiu-jitsu where someone shows us something. You're like, dang, why didn't I know this like 2 years ago? Like,
Yeah.
because you've been doing it, you've been battling on, you've just been doing the best you can. And then someone shows you the correct way or the easier way. And you're like, man, I wish I knew better. And we've all seen it, right? You see somebody just struggling, like just giving it 100%, but doing it completely incorrectly.
Yeah.
And, I guess I see it a lot more with my students, and then I have to jump in and give them feedback and say, hey, don't repeat your mistakes. And I guess the extension of this chat really, guys, is don't repeat our mistakes.
Please.
Please save yourself that time. And then
Or maybe you want to, walk the path.
maybe
Joey JT path. You're
You
like,
wanna?
no, I want to make that
I want to
mistake.
feel that.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Brazil, get that cheese bread. I'm
Burn
going
my
to
face off.
close the triangles wrong.
Live a life,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Character building, scar tissue building. But now I think we can go to something which is probably more, not so much a technique, but maybe a mistake which you might be making, which we have made, which you could probably save yourself the trouble, which is maybe a little bit more general but jiu-jitsu related.
Yeah.
And for you, Joe, what would that be?
I had this really poor habit from, I would say, up until I started training with Adam Childs, because, and I've spoken about it on the podcast before, but I was very kind of, I didn't really have a lot of coaching in my jiu-jitsu from like
You're the natural.
late, right?
any coach would be intimidated to give you advice.
That's right. I mean, what can they tell me that I don't really know?
Exactly.
You know, you know, from like late blue belt, you know, and this was because at the time when I was going from blue up to brown, I would say that my coach at the time wasn't really super committed and just wasn't looking closely and that kind of thing.
Wasn't paying attention to your game. per
Exactly.
se.
But I was also responsible because I wasn't paying attention to my game.
Sure.
You know, so it goes both ways. But I had this habit of when I would start a roll, I would just let my training partner initiate whatever they wanted to before I started to really resist.
Yeah.
So say we're rolling and, you know, like you're on your back and I would just step into your guard and you would go, boom, De La Riva.
Get grips,
And
do
then
the
you would
thing.
go, yep, I'll take that sleeve. I'll take that. And then I'd go, all right, now I'm fighting. And I would do this, you know, and it would work, I guess, against people who were smaller or weaker or, you know, not as good as me at the time. But I know, like I look back at my key training partners at that time and I'm like, Bean would fuck me up every single roll. He would sweep me and come on top. And then I would be fighting for my life to get out of it. And I would always think, man, the rolls with him are so tough.
Right.
And then training with Dave, I would pull guard on him and I would do the same thing. I would just lie on my back.
And kind of let him take
Yeah,
grips.
and then rather than like staying seated,
Yes.
keeping my knees close, like
Yeah, right.
actually having some integrity to the guard, you know?
Right.
And it wasn't until like training with Adam where he's like, man, as soon as we slap hands, it's fucking on. And if I've got the 2 grips that I want, or even 1 grip and my guard,
You're probably going to lose.
that's right. So he's
Yeah.
like, you can't let that happen. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I've been letting this happen for like almost a decade.
Wow.
You know?
Position of greatest disadvantage, hey?
Yeah, and it was just a really silly habit. I look back, I remember training at I remember visiting an academy in San Diego. I don't remember the fella's name. It was a guy somewhere out more in the suburbs of San Diego. He was a black belt. I was a purple belt. And I went to a lunchtime class because I was traveling and I was like, oh, I'll go check this gym out today. And I went to a lunchtime class and I think there was like maybe just a couple of people there. And I had a roll with him. And I remember like he's like, hey, let's have a roll. And he initiated his guard and he swept me. And he was like, come on, man. Like he said to me, like, come on.
What are you doing?
And I was like kind of offended. I'm like what?
Huh?
Like you calling me out for not like being good enough or something? But looking like it didn't
Yeah.
take me long to realize afterwards. I'm like, yeah, he saw my mistake and was like, you shouldn't be making this mistake.
Yeah.
I wasn't his student, so he was like, I'm not gonna fucking take the time to break it down for you.
Sure.
But he's like, come on, let's go. Like you should be better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I must have done that so often.
Right.
So, you know, I'm glad that now that I'm black belt, I don't make that mistake as often. you know, but it took a while.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. And I always have to remind myself of this because I do, depending on what time of the day you catch me and obviously how much food I've eaten or how much caffeine I've had, I have more empathy and sometimes I have less empathy. And even for my white belt students, I expect that once I've shown them the right way to do it, that they practice it and they learn from their mistakes. Now, obviously, it's not exactly how it works because maybe I didn't communicate it clearly enough or they were tired, they didn't get it. The reason why I always want to push people to not repeat their mistakes is they just start to level up. You know, like once you, and the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. You can't have a crack at somebody for not knowing. It's not that they're willfully being ignorant.
That's
It's
right.
just- you just don't know these things. So it's super important that we identify these mistakes. And it does help us if we've got somebody who's checking in on us. And it's not always your coach, you know. Sometimes it's your mate who started jiu-jitsu at the same time. And they're like, hey, what's going on with you? I'm kicking your ass right now. What's going on? And then, you know, and you check in on your friends because you don't want them to, you know, quit when they're blue belts or whatever it might be.
I mean, we've mentioned this before. If I have had the awareness to say to, you know, like I think about my mate Bean, who was the strongest counterpart, in, you know, from blue to purple belt in the gym. We didn't want to roll with each other because it was too intense. Yeah, we'd almost avoid each other and be like, oh, you want to do it? Oh, I'd love to, man. Oh, good training. And then it's like, just fucking worlds collide, you know? But if I had have said to him, man, how do you keep sweeping me? What are you doing? And then he would have said, oh, it's because you're letting me get my grips and establish my De La Riva. I would have been like, it would have stopped there.
Yeah.
But I never asked that simple question.
The feedback.
Yeah, I never asked. And you know, so the blame is on me, but it's just interesting to think that went on for years.
Wow.
You know, because simply because I just didn't have the thought to go, hey man, can you tell me why that keeps working for you?
Yeah. And I think that that's an important thing. And that's something that we try to do here at Jungle Brothers too, is like give your training partner an opportunity to ask for feedback, but then also you have an opportunity to get feedback from them too. Oh man, you did that quite well. Or, hey, the reason why that didn't work is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
If your partner is knows enough to be able to tell you, because sometimes your training partner doesn't know either.
That's right.
But I mean, for me, my biggest mistake, which probably didn't change till probably purple belt, and it was like the big change in me for purple belt before kind of becoming as good as I could be at purple before going up to brown, was just hanging on in really bad spots, like from my guard, just because. Like just being stacked, one leg up here, that leg under here, my arm twisted behind my back, and just eating it just because I could, because I was flexible enough, I could hack it. I didn't want to be soft. I was like, no, I can take this pressure. And just hanging on to positions just to hang in there, when actually what would have been way better is for me to accept that I was pretty much passed. Not that I'd have to accept the pass, but like let them pass and then scramble and then go to something else.
Yeah.
As opposed to just absolutely just getting my
damage.
Yeah, face knee righted, you know, discs bulged, arm twisted, just worse spots. And then at the time it was okay, full of adrenaline, warm as hell. After training, agony.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my knee, my neck. And then just the psychology of trying to work through it of like, don't want to seem like I'm a wuss or don't want to seem weak to my training partner, but then actually weakening myself.
That's
and
right.
then being a cripple off the mat, not being able to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
But then bringing it for the training session because I don't want to be a pussy. And then just doing like essentially dumb things, but just eating way more damage and pressure than I needed to in the name of keeping my guard. Don't let your guard get past. Like never, never, never. And actually what happened as a result of one of these, a training partner, not a training partner, a guy at training, a world champion at many belts, but never at black belt. He actually gouged my eye with his chin. So I was in half guard and I was just so
chin
determined.
gouge.
Mate, I didn't even know it was possible, right? Because I was like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I'm just hanging here in half guard. And he'd pretty much gone to like a knee cut. And I was on quarter guard. I was hanging on by the skin of my teeth, like just, pinching my thighs around his ankle. He's pretty much passed, but he can't get his foot out.
Yeah.
Doing everything he can. It's all those years of Thigh Master,
Yeah.
just working those adductors. And I'm just pinching and I'm just like, he won't pass. I can't let him pass. And I was just like attached to him. And he basically grabbed the back of my lapel and he took his chin, put it into my right eye socket and just gouged his chin into my eye socket and started to pass. And he literally, blinded me. My right eye actually sits about 5 mil further back in my head. He pushed my eye back in the socket.
Dead set.
No lie. Have a look. If I lean back, my occipital cavity is pushed back. It just sits a bit further in my head, right?
Yeah.
So could you believe it, Joe? My face used to be more symmetrical.
Holy shit.
Who
You're
knew?
like Michael Bisping.
Well, I can't pop
Got
the
a
eye out of my
podcast.
head.
The fucked up eye. Yeah.
Hey, man. When he got double knocked out by Henderson, that was beautiful. That hit after the knock. But the crazy thing was I didn't even know that level of savagery was possible in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And I had to open my guard, right? Like and I had this crazy burning sensation in my eye. And I was actually blind in that eye for a week. I thought, I'm in Brazil. I can't see out my eye. Like, is this permanent?
Wow.
Eventually kind of vision came back, settled down. But that's the thing, guys. In the name, there's all this kind of bravado and stuff within jiu-jitsu, which is you've got to be tough. Don't let him pass your guard. Never tap. All this kind of whatever, nonsense. And just because I was told that you should not let people pass your guard and you should fight as hard as you can, I have damaged my body. And what I have realized now is that actually there's opportunities in kind of letting someone pass, but then suddenly switching or coming up to a takedown or scrambling.
Yeah.
It presents opportunity. So just holding on to something for grim death actually held my game back. at Blue and Purple, it really slowed me down.
You can identify too, like when you've been the hammer in that situation, and then maybe it's like some like savage young blue belt from the gym, and you basically passed, and you've got their body in a fucked up position, but they're just they don't feel pain, and they're just not tapping, or they're not letting you pass.
Yeah,
and they're like. But there's still this foot that's just fucking on your chest or whatever, and you're like, all right, like I'm chilling.
Yeah.
And like I'm literally watching the years in your life like whittle away right now.
like a Death Eater, the soul is just
and you're like, fair enough, like, okay, maybe okay, well, it's fine, like let's go back to your closed guard or whatever, like, because you get to a point sometimes where you're like, all right, this is just a bit silly now.
This is a bit bad.
But when you've been the nail in that situation and you're like, I'm gonna kind of impress I'm going to show how tough I am. You're like, well,
Casca Grossa.
Yeah, you're kind of just showing how stupid you are.
Yeah.
Because let them pass and like live to fight another day, and do something else. Like you don't have to cop all that damage.
Yeah.
And also there's nothing necessarily cool about lying there on the mats, contorted and being like,
a whimpering mess.
Yeah, someone's trying to pass
you. Can't, there's no glory. You can't talk about the glory days when you're like, yeah, man, I just hung in that quarter guard. Like I was there for 5 minutes.
That's right.
Couldn't pass, but then I gassed and he passed. But for 5 minutes, I was in there with the best. It's like, no, look, this isn't Rocky. Like it's not like I did 12 rounds with the champ. No one's going to remember or care that you bulged 3 of your own discs because you didn't let the person pass, and then you bulged your discs, and then they passed. And then you've got bulged discs, right? Like it's sometimes I feel, and this is like many things in life, we get really attached to an idea. We get really attached to, it's my favorite technique or whatever it is. Attachment in general holds us all back because there's so much more to find out when we end up in a chaotic situation where we don't have any control. We don't know what's going on. And maybe we discover something new that works really well. I actually heard something the other day, which is quite interesting. And I don't know why it hit so hard. I've actually got it written down here. The saying was, a mistake may be the answer to another question. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And they were talking about the Post-it note. Right. This guy working at 3M had made this. He was trying to make like a really good adhesive and he stuffed it up. And this adhesive was so weak that you could attach something, but then take it off and then it didn't mark the surface. And it's like, God, this adhesive is good for nothing. And then... obviously 3M's a huge company. They logged this, temporary adhesive. It wasn't very good. And then this particular guy was religious, and he was trying to find a way to mark. He's got this really old Holy Bible to leave his place marker in the Bible from where he was reading, but he wanted to be able to remove it without damaging the pages.
Right on.
And he had tried to come up with this idea, this product. And they had this catalog of things, and he went back to revisit this temporary adhesive, which then led to the Post-it note, which makes up for 1/3 of 3M's revenue.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it is like one of the, and that was a mistake that in a different context was very successful.
Yeah.
And often we get really scared of, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to make a mistake. And then maybe if that person passes your guard, or maybe if that person goes for a submission, you find a new escape, or you find something different just because you're not so attached to your very limited amount of knowledge or scope of understanding.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess that there's a thing where there can be mistakes in whichever direction you go.
Of course. Because
you could then see it as a mistake of, well, I let them pass my guard. And it's like, well, I always let people pass my guard. I don't grit it out enough.
Sure.
Okay, well, that's a thing too.
That's a different thing, yeah.
Yeah, but I suppose maybe what I'm taking away from this is like, can you look at the situation from a different perspective?
Yeah.
And maybe see how you could develop more by taking a slightly different approach.
I think we could look at this from a kind of Seinfeld, George approach, where Seinfeld, for those of you out there who know across Seinfeld, fuck you. I mean, get across it. Do some Googling, get educated. No, and Seinfeld says to George, because George is always struggling with things, he said, why don't you just do the opposite? Because George always makes really bad decisions. And then as a result, he takes Seinfeld's advice and he just says, whatever you decide you're going to do, just do the opposite of whatever you think you should do. And he starts winning. Everything starts working for him. And I think that it's like, there is a value, even if it's just a thought exercise, to do something different with your jiu-jitsu so you're not getting stuck and ultimately not repeating your mistakes. It's great to learn and change and then get new mistakes because then you're developing. But the same old thing, if you keep getting armbarred, there's a problem there. Or if you keep getting swept on a particular sweep on a particular side, there's a hole in the way you're passing. So,
Or if you keep eating the muesli and your gut's getting sucked up the moisture out of it,
yeah,
try having some steak for breakfast instead.
maybe.
And an OJ.
That's it. But definitely, guys, we all make mistakes, but the key is to learn from them and fix them up.
Fam, thank you for listening. Guys, if you are looking for some help with your training, the Bulletproof program is here for you. We offer online programs, strength and mobility, and it's all designed around complementing you, the jiu-jitsu player. You want to prioritize your jiu-jitsu. You don't want to spend too long in the gym each week or in your garage or wherever it is that you're doing your training. Our programs are designed for that. Strength, mobility, kettlebells, whatever you need, we have it. Go to bulletproofforbjj.com. We have a 1-week free trial, so you can test it all out. We've just dropped our new standards program. The feedback has been immense. I'm enjoying the shit out of it. Get on board. Jump on there now, bulletproofforbjj.com, and build a body for jiu-jitsu.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you, brother. Cheers, guys.